All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today with us. And I know that if you guys don't know me yet already, my name is Adriann Guy. I am the co-founder of CreateHER, and I'm really grateful to have this space with you today because this conversation is not just about job readiness in the traditional sense. We're not here to talk about resumes today, LinkedIn profiles, interviews, portfolios, how to land the opportunity that you want. Not only those things, those aren't the only things that matter, but we really want to talk about what it means to prepare for the career that you want in a time where it could feel like the ground is actively shaking underneath us. AI is changing how work gets done. It's changing what skills are valued. It's changing how companies hire, how teams operate, how people are expected to learn, adapt, improve themselves. And many of us, especially women, especially Black women, especially women of color, first generation professionals, career switchers, students, technologists, creatives, builders, people who have had to figure things out without a perfect roadmap. All of that can feel really exciting, but also really overwhelming at the same time. And to be honest, this is a topic that's personal for me too, because I know what it feels like to have technical skills, lots of ambition, ideas, capacity, and still have to navigate uncertainty, layoffs, transitions, burnout, unclear pathways, systems that don't always make it easy to understand where you fit, how to move forward. And I also know what it feels like to look around and realize that the advice that we used to receive about career readiness does not always match the world that we live in today. We're told to get the degree, build the resume, apply to the jobs, network more, learn to code, learn AI, use the tools, blah, blah, blah. All of this can be true, but it can still feel like it's not enough. And because in this era, readiness is not just about having credentials, it's also about knowing how to think, how to communicate your value, how to build proof of your work, how to stay adaptable, how to use AI without losing your own voice, how to position yourself in rooms where opportunities are being shaped. And that's why this conversation matters so much. For anyone who's new to CreateHER, at CreateHER, we care really deeply about how we help our community not just react to the future of work, but participate in actually shaping it. And we're here to create access, yes, but also context, because with access and you're lacking context, it can still leave people confused, overlooked, or underprepared. And that's never what we want to do. So today's panel is about bringing some of that context into the room. And we've invited some amazing speakers who all bring different vantage points across technology, career development, hiring, leadership, etc. And they're here to give you the ability to unpack what career readiness actually looks like right now, what you should be learning, how you can be positioning yourself, what employers and industry leaders are paying attention to, how to build confidence when the rules keep changing, how to use AI as a tool for leverage, not as something that makes you feel replaceable, and how to make sure that women and underrepresented builders are not just being told to keep up, but we're actually being equipped to lead. So that's the spirit of today's conversation. So before we get into some of those tactical things, I want to go ahead and pass the mic to our amazing panelists, and I'll have them tell themselves a little bit more about themselves to you. We can start with Jasmine.
Lovely. Hi, everybody. My name is Jasmine Walker. I also go by J Walker UXT on socials, specifically Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok as well. I am an AI strategist and creative technologist. I also specialize in LinkedIn. I love personal branding and helping minorities get into the tech space and thrive. I'm also one of the community managers here at CreateHER.
Amazing, Jasmine. I'm so glad to have you. And next, I'll have Khushboo. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this session today. I'm Khushboo. I'm a principal cloud architect at Oracle, and so I work in a customer facing role. and my work has been centered around cloud native products and services. And I've been in this role for about 8 years now, but I have gradually progressed to become a cloud architect, starting from an associate engineer about 7 years ago. So yes, I'm happy to be here, and hopefully I can answer some of your questions based on my experience and help you out on your individual journey.
Amazing. And last but not least, we have Neha.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's an honor to share this space with you all. And I am Neha. I'm a woman in tech, and with over about 7+ years of experience in quality engineering. I'm MIT certified in data science, machine learning, AI, and I'm very passionate about mentoring the next generation of women, and I've been participating into like women tech councils, the she tech event, and now create her. So this is an amazing opportunity. I love this space. um, as a woman of color and an immigrant myself here, and someone who grew up in small town in India, one thing I want to add is like the place where you start does not determine how far you go. So that is something I would want to preach more about in this workshop. Like, nothing will limit you. You just have to be open and welcoming to receiving all kinds of knowledge and wisdom. Yep.
That's amazing and very related. Yeah. I think that's a perfect place for us to jump in. So I will start with a question for everyone. AI is screening applications before a human ever sees your name. From where each of you sit, what is the most important thing job seekers need to understand about how hiring actually works right now? And anyone can jump in. Jess, we can start with you if you'd like.
Absolutely, sure. Um, I think because AI is so heavy on the scenes, that's one reason that even when it makes it to the hiring manager's desk, they have a little more suspicion when it comes to seeing your resume, seeing your LinkedIn, seeing your whole brand that you put before them. And I think for that reason, that's why you even have to have that's why it feels like you have to have your experience like stacked up and social proof uh, on top of each other, rather than just saying that you know AI, knowing that you know blockchain. You really have to show more proof without it, make it without a doubt for the hiring manager. Really paint that picture for them.
Absolutely. And Neha, if you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, first of all, I want to tell everyone, don't be scared of AI. Please, this is not going to take your jobs away. It is just like your mini assistant around you. Take as much as leverage you can out of it, but remember that it is still learning and developing and progressing towards becoming mature. It is still very new. So, whatever you ask AI to do for you, bring in more human intervention. Look for, still look for problems that AI might have, but just take a leverage of it for now, and don't be scared of it. It's going to be better probably after next 10 years, but right now the stage that it is in is something we really need to monitor. With the jobs in AI, I would just say keep your personalizations into your job search. That will help you land into like a specific job that is meant for you instead of applying thousands of different jobs.
And Khushboo.
Sure. So I'll just answer it directly that if since AI is screening applications before humans see the resume, what really? happening in the market. So yes, we have to accept that AI tools are screening resumes as people apply for jobs. And I have seen job descriptions over where the last line would be like that disclaimer that the company does use AI for screening. I've heard that in my company from a recruiter that AI tool is a screening. So the first ever step would be for any applicant is to find a job that is actually a good match to your skill set. Whether it's about your academics, whether it's about your prior experience. So just stay true to your work, because if the keywords are missing from the resume, then of course the chances are of your resume never making it to a human. We have to accept that and we have to work with it. So and also, like, you have to make sure that just putting keywords in the resume for the sake of it is also not going to help, because once it goes to the resume, there's going to be like further screening where the recruiter may just ask, more questions like, if you are a go-to person, then what type of technology we can rely you on for, what is the type of work that you have been known for. So there could be some questions that you may have to answer even before making it to the first round of your job interview. So make sure you are applying to the right job, you have the right skill set, and then you are not just seeing your resume as a list of tasks, but in fact you are explaining that what you have built or you have improved or you have owned or solved for your organization. And one thing that I always emphasize is that if possible, do not forget to mention business impact of your work if it is applicable in any way in the work that you have been doing, like the systems that may have improved delivery in your organization, like how quickly you have been able to ship certain system, or how many customers you may have helped of your organization by building a certain product. Then do try to like add it to your resume so that it just doesn't sound like a list of tasks and just tech stack that's written on a resume, because then you're, of course, you have to see that you are competing with a bigger pool. So resume should be just more than titles and technologies. And I hope that that can actually help you stand out when you apply for a job.
That was a great ad. All right, let's jump into the next question. And this one I have is for Jazz. You work in personal branding and you know LinkedIn, the algorithm itself very well. How much does your online presence actually influence whether you get a callback? And what's the lowest effort, highest impact thing someone can do to their profile this week?
Your online presence is part of your social proof. That's part of backing up that you know what you do and you do what you do well. To answer the second part of your question about the second part of your question of what's that thing they can do that has a very high impact, I would say your headline, especially those first like 3 to 4 words. That could be the difference between someone clicking on your profile and learning more about you, finding out just very quickly what do you do, or what do I, where do you fit in the world of all the professionals, right? Are we in the same field? Do we do something similar? I would say that would be your quick intro to someone, is your headline.
Thanks for that. And I hope that anyone who is joining today, you guys can check out your headlines and see what we can add or beef that up a little bit for this week. Now, let's jump to Khushboo again. I know you've pursued certifications while also working deeply in cloud systems. How should candidates think about certifications alongside hands-on work? And what makes a certification actually valuable in practice?
So I would say that certifications do matter, especially when a technology is new in the market, or let's say you are new to that technology and you're basically like starting from scratch. without having any experience about it academically or professionally. But we also have to understand that certifications are not enough by themselves. So, speaking from my experience when I was graduating from my program at University of Maryland College Park back in 2018, a lot of my peers were going for cloud certifications, especially the ones that AWS had, because it was quite a rage and people were getting a lot of job interview calls just by, matching those keywords of saying that they are an AWS cloud solutions architect. And as we see, it's kind of the same, but for AI certifications now. So, when a technology is new in the market, having a certification can help you, be that early adopter of that technology, appear like that. But we have to make sure that we have some supporting signals for, your certifications as well. So, I always advise the students that I talk to or any early career professionals that support your certifications with projects, no matter if these are beginner projects and not really something that you have done in an internship or co-op or like a full-time job. But it's always good to support your certification by showing a companion project saying that, hey, this is what I learned. And just don't keep it to yourself, or just your resume. Like, your project should be on a GitHub, publicly visible, and on your LinkedIn, so that a person can get a fair idea that this is really how you used your knowledge from certification. And that's really what you can also bring to the experience if you get hired. So, see your certification as something that you can convert into practical experience and not really just a checkbox.
I love that. So what I'm hearing is, in your perspective, the timing around a certification matters, especially when it comes to emerging technologies, which we work a lot with in our community. But also, when something starts to become a lot more saturated in the market, we really want to see people applying the skills that their certifications are saying that they have. So they want to see the connection between, like, you got a thing, but can you implement it? I think that's huge. And now I have another question for Neha, actually. You've been intentional about certifications and continuous learning, especially in AI. And then for someone earlier in that journey, how do you decide which certifications are worth your time and money versus which ones are just noise?
So I simply go with a filtration. Like I would do like a 3 step or like 2 step something. First thing is that your certification, what you're doing, if you are able to use that in knowledge within next 6 to 18 months or even shorter, 6 to 12 months, if you're going to apply that into your work, everyday work, or if you are not, then I think it's a distraction. It's not necessary right now. You need to hold. And second is validate how much that certification is bringing you the value. In the sense, you can look up to job descriptions that require those kind of certifications, or you may be following certain leaders over LinkedIn or people who you think are way ahead in the technology world, where you want to follow path along. Are they are doing something like that? If yes, then probably you need to start working up on your skill set and grabbing those certifications. And last, like for Khushboo's point that she said, if you're not bringing any applied learning with your certification, you're just doing a checkbox tick. If you have like a hands-on, let's say I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for certain skills in my candidate, and I see they have done certification. But if someone who has a project over GitHub, or if they have some Python projects or any Jupyter notebooks that I can look into, that will be like, you know, a great example. And I can, definitely go forward with those candidates versus who have just done these certificates. So yeah, these are few things that I look forward to. And then one last thing is like you do certification now, but what is your map, or what are you looking forward to in your career? What path are you building? You want it to be a part of your bigger narrative. Like, hey, I was here at this position, and then I bring in this certification. It helped me build like a good set of skill set, and that took me up in my career. If that is something you're bringing in, then definitely go for it. But please do follow certain rules, like is it a distraction or just a checkbox, or is it really adding any value?
No, I think that's really, really good. And then for those of us who have kind of hung around Creator Fest or are just learning more about what our community is, that's kind of the reason why we pair so many of the certifications that we put in you guys' line of sight, and that we work to remove the obstacles like the financial costs around them. We pair them with the hands-on workshops, and we pair them with, walking you guys through how you actually apply these things, because of exactly what all of our conversation has been about so far, where it's one thing for you to take the time, and you're spending a lot of your time is money, to be able to get these certifications. But if you're not applying them, and if they're not bringing you value back in return, then what are we really doing? So I know we've been talking a lot about the hiring landscape. Before we move to the next topic, I want to ask one last question to everyone. When we're talking about the gap in between job descriptions and reality, we've all seen postings that ask for 5 years of experience in technology that's been around for only 2 years. How do you read job postings, and when should you apply anyway? And if we want, we can start with Neha for that.
Sorry, I couldn't get some part of your question. There was a Can you come again one more time, please?
Yes. So I said, when we're talking about that gap between job descriptions and reality, we've seen those postings that are asking for 5 years of experience for technology that's only existed for 2 years. So I'm asking the question, how do you recommend people read those job postings? And, when should they know? When's the signal to apply anyway?
I think when they say 5 years of minimum, you have a hands-on or like experience, probably you should, like, let's say AI. AI is what? It is data. So not necessarily I need to be into AI for 5 years, but if I have my data practices built in very strong, my skill set around, let's say, data science, neural linguistic programming are good, I don't need to have like 5 years of experience just in AI, because those are the foundation of AI. And similarly, for any position, if you do not have a strong 5 year experience, you can still have some projects that you've worked on. Those are kind of related to those kind of skill set. You can build your resume in a way, then you need to add a story like what uh, improvement or value did you add to your project using those skill set, that will eventually add up towards like having that experience. Because if the technology is fairly naive, it's very new, and no one will have ever experience with like 5 years when it's just 2 year old, which is, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But what I think they are trying to do is like finding out your foundations are clear about those technology, and if ever you have done worked on them, ever worked on them, then please describe it clearly what value you added in your project working with those.
Thanks, Neha. And for Khushboo or Jazz, is there any insight from you guys' experience that you want to add to this?
I think I would say that treat job descriptions like wish lists and not perfect filters. If you see a match in the core skills or experience that the job description is asking about, then go ahead and apply. Don't look for, being able to satisfy every line item, because they are also on a hunt for 100% match. But if you feel that you are at least, 60 to 70% match for that role, and you can speak confidently about it, or the adjacent experience to that role, if you are selected, then just go ahead and apply, while being honest to what you have done. And then I think moving on, you should focus more on, like, what is the gap that is there between that role versus where you are, and how you can cover it. Because I've seen that job descriptions are pretty broad, and it's not really possible that a human being is going to have genuine interest in each and everything. So I think, by giving more and more description in a job roles listing, probably the company is also giving you a fair idea to evaluate if this is something that you would like to do or not. So that's just a different perspective when you look at job descriptions, instead of trying to only see if you qualify for those roles or not.
100%. And I would even add that a lot of times these job descriptions, they're not being written by the people who are performing the roles, and they're not being written by people who are even in the department. They're being written by people in HR oftentimes.
Yes.
So yeah. And Jazz, any other thoughts or your experience you want to add here too before we switch out?
Yes, so I think Khushboo and Neha really summed it up really well. I would add though that yes, if you feel like you fit the job description like 70%, that might just be the time. Just lean into your confidence, be Delulu, apply for the job, and hope for the best. And something that I've done when like I don't have the full confidence in myself and I'm not sure if I match well with that job, I've asked AI to basically help me with that confidence so they can have basically like that white man's audacity to apply for the role anyway, and say, how do I pair to this job? What confidence level do you have in me? Do I seem like I'm there 70%? Do you think I can make it to the interview room? Right? Sometimes the process, of course, is a little longer than just resume you're hired. That interview could get you another chance to prove yourself. So yeah, I would definitely say that's definitely helped me.
I love that. All right, guys. I want to talk a little bit now about non-traditional paths, gaps, and when we're put in that position where we have to prove our experience. So another question for everyone. A lot of people in our community, in this meet right now, they may not have a computer science degree, or they may have a gap on their resume. They may be pivoting from a completely different field. And I'm curious, what do you think hiring managers actually think when they see a non-traditional background or a non-linear career? And how do you make that work for you instead of against you? We can go in the same order.
Okay. So I think when the hiring manager perspective is taken consideration, I think they are more interested in your basic skill sets and your resilience, your adaptability in the team, how you coordinate and communicate well. Definitely, if there's a huge gap in between what they're expecting versus what you have to work on those gaps first. Because if someone with like no information lands up into this kind of job where a lot of information on certain topics is needed or a hands-on is needed, it will create a problem later, even though they crack all the interviews by somehow. But to be authentic is number one key. Telling the truth, like what you know and what you can improve if that's what the job is asking for. And then staying true to your work by being authentic, by being more compliant, by being more hardworking. Yeah, that's my take on that one. But I would love to listen from my other two uh, panel people.
Thanks, Neha. Khushboo?
So I would say that, I mean, I cannot speak from a hiring manager perspective, but I personally feel that a non-traditional background is not automatically a disadvantage if people know how to explain a through line. In my years here, I have seen people in roles with absolutely no connection to their academic degrees. And I feel that I wish I had more information, anyone's personal story, because I have also always, felt very curious that how did they reach this particular position without having a connected academic degree. But I think the way I answer it is that people also learn through the work that they do. You're always learning, and you learn things on the fly. I answered one question on certifications, and I told you already that I didn't really get any before I joined my job. I got into my role, and all my certifications are basically what I have taken as an employee, but not really a single one as a student. So I think that one hope that everybody can keep about their non-traditional background is that if they would like to, and if they can, uh, you know um, get those skills that are really needed for the job, and if they really get to interview for a position which is not directly connected to what they have been doing, then I would highly recommend that emphasize on any transferable skills that you may have, or any ownership that you have shown in the past that could be utilized for the role that you are targeting as well. And if you have tried to cover any gaps by taking any additional courses or any degrees, then that's something worth highlighting. So frame your story around what can be connected, what you already have, and what your aspiration is, and why do you want to take this pivot in your career? And not really, don't be like apologetic for being on a different path so far. I think we all evolve, and we find new interest as we move on, so we should all get like a fair chance to explore without being too worried about not having done that before.
Thank you. No, that was good. And then Jazz. Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Hilarious. I would add, I'm also from a non-traditional background. Computer science is not even on my radar at 18 years old or at 21. And I would say if you don't have this perfect linear path, that's okay. Again, like with CreateHER Fest, we're dealing with pretty new fields, right? um, AI has not been around for forever, so to speak. So I would say I would agree with the panel that like lean into the magic that you do bring and the value that you do bring. And I think it's important to recognize that, like within your through line, within the career that you have started building for yourself, like what magic do you bring to the table? And of course, yes, try and fill in that gap as much as possible. I'm not saying that if you don't have a CS degree and you're trying to be a software engineer, don't try to learn coding. Please fill in that gap as much as possible before you get to that hiring manager. But whatever field you came in before that, how does that make you a better software engineer? How does that make you different from the other people that will be in front of the hiring manager, the other people that that are trying to be software engineers at Google, let's say? Realize the magic that you already have.
No, I love that. Especially when you spoke to thinking about how the technology that you want to learn, the emerging technology applies to fields that you already have experience in, right? We want to be transparent. We want to be honest about the fact that as big of a buzzword AI has become, it is still not a concept that has fully integrated into the majority of industries. So where you have your expertise, you have a position to understand as you learn more about AI and you build your skills in it, how it can add the most impact to the industries that you have experience in as well. So connecting those dots is going to be a big thing, because I also see that a lot of the veterans in many of these industries, there's a lot of resistance to them wanting to be receptive to how AI can add value, to be receptive to how they can build their own skills too. So that creates opportunity for everyone who's willing to learn something new. I love those answers. I want to jump into another question now. And this one is for Neha. You've spoken publicly about your journey from a small town in India to a tech career in the US. And that's a story about navigating systems that weren't designed with you in mind. What did you learn about how to frame your story in a way that opened doors rather than triggering bias?
Wow, this is so, you know, kind of very close to my heart. Um, so I learned the power of how you frame your story, because early on, I used to focus on what were my obstacles. And sometimes, you know what, people used to see those as limits before seeing what it brought me on the other hand. So what I did is like I shifted from showing my barriers to my strengths. I started leading it with like my journey, uh, exemplifying what it built in me, like resilience, adaptability. Um, Coming into this nation like 10 years back, there was a lot of ambiguity, and but I sailed through it, and I connected my experiences to the impact that was created, like how I solved the problem, how I led the problems, and what value was created behind that. If this was not my path, then these qualities were never would have ever instilled in me. So I think I downplayed it where I came from. Now I own it. I own it and I frame it as an advantage. For women in technology, especially like women of color and being an immigrant, your story is your differentiator. And when your anchor is, when you anchor it in confidence and impact, then you're not striking the bias. Instead, you are challenging it. So yeah, this is really important to own your story.
And I think that's really powerful, because what I'm hearing is, you decide to pivot and you lead with your wins.
Yeah.
And for anyone who wants to try to challenge you with any gaps or anything that they think that you may be lacking, the fact that you're leading with your wins is already showing them that you faced obstacles before and they weren't an issue to overcome. So
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
can do it again. I love that.
Yeah.
The next question is for Jazz. You've been freelancing and consulting since 2021. That's amazing. Which means you've had to translate non-traditional, self-directed work into language that resonates with clients and employers. How do you put freelance work and community work, which you're very avid in, and volunteer tech experience on a resume without getting dismissed?
Um, okay, I made sure I'm off on mute this time. So I would say to answer that question, you have to make it undeniable the impact that you bring. I'm still working on that myself of trying to lead with metrics. I do not speak in the language of math, um, so I'm working on that skill. But it's very important that you're able to, be able to lead with the metrics versus I'm very touchy feeling. So it's really easy for me to talk about, the impact that I made and how beautiful that is. But if you can speak in metrics as well, that's very helpful on a resume when someone is trying to scan very quickly to realize what did you do? How did you influence where you were at? And what exactly, what impact did that make? What was the outcome? One way to do that as well, Google has a very famous format for resume bullets. It's called like the XYZ format of I did this by doing this, which impacted in this. That's what I have to say.
I love it. I love it. And then the next question is for Khushboo. So you've been at Oracle for your entire career, and you've grown significantly from within. For someone who doesn't have that kind of institutional track record yet, maybe they're newer or they've bounced around, what evidence or competence do you actually find compelling? The evidence of competence, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We all start from somewhere, and therefore having like a constant track record with a company isn't really, possible for everybody. But I think what I would personally find compelling is that if they have been committed to a certain idea or certain interests where they are now trying to, make a career. So let's say you say you are interested in tech, and have you been uh, mostly committed to that for at least a few years before you decide to like apply for that particular job, or if you can show that this is what I've been doing in the past, these are my interests, and that's how I'm constantly growing as a person in this particular field. This is what I've built, and before and after of their work, that type of story would still be, compelling, even if they would have probably bounced around a couple of positions or a couple of companies, but there can be still a common thread as to what they have been doing. And just to prove that, okay, this is the right person and motivated enough to, go further on this particular path that they are trying to take. So I think it doesn't just have to be like a particular company name or a list of tools, but it's more about like the clarity and ownership that an individual can show.
I love that. And that storytelling around your forward progression, whether it's with the exact same company or it's across multiples, I'm getting that before we wrap this section, that how you position and how you see yourself is really what builds confidence in someone else to be able to see what your capabilities are. So I've loved this. I love this. And for the next topic, we're going to be positioning or transitioning to negotiating and advocating for yourself, which I love talking about negotiation. I am very much someone who plays a lot of hardball, and I also am willing to walk away from many things because I know I play super duper hardball. So I love talking about negotiation, and the next question is going to be for everyone, because when we're thinking about negotiation and we're thinking about the context of women, especially women of color, we are statistically less likely to negotiate and more likely to be penalized when we do. Yeah, I lived that life. Yep. So what any advice that you could add for anyone navigating this, and what has worked for you personally? And we can start with Khushboo, actually.
Well, I think negotiating or advocating for yourself really just starts with how clearly you understand yourself, your capabilities, how confident you are. If we continue to undervalue ourselves, there's a good chance that, that's something that's also reflecting externally towards our peers or senior managers who are ultimately the ones who will be evaluating us. So it's important to carry that confidence and also communicate it clearly time and again, and be very specific about what you are asking for and how it matches the contributions that you have made. So I think that's one place where um, just a clear communication, a lot of clarity and confidence really helps, because a lot of times we just have to make our contributions visible or try to find, ways to just negotiate for what we deserve while being polite as well.
And I found in my experience, especially being someone who negotiates a lot and plays a lot of hardball, it seems a lot harder to negotiate when you stay with the same company. So I'm curious if you had any other add to that on like how you can been able to continue to negotiate while staying with the same company, if and any kind of tricks that you've had to like jump over or run around with those situations.
I think that for me, it's pretty straightforward. I like to do check-ins with my managers, and I have seen like multiple managers in about 7.5 years now. So, and this is also something that I had learned from my mistakes when I wasn't doing so many check-ins and was rather passive, because and this was also my first job, so I had no experience how to orient myself in a corporate environment. So slowly and gradually, I worked on having like a check-in structure with my manager just to clearly know what's expected from me, if I'm on the right path or not, and just knowing what my deliverables are and continuously working towards them. Also, saying no to something that I am not interested in doing, so that it is not unnecessarily in my to-do list or my yearly goals, while I have very less motivation to deliver on that. So I think if you are clear, making like you're keeping clear benchmarks for yourself, and you are aligning the goals assigned to you with something that you are motivated to do, the negotiation later on will is something that you can totally avoid, because I have experienced both certain times, and I had to speak up and say that, hey, I feel I'm due for a promotion. What is it that you think I'm not doing? I'd be very happy to go ahead and cover that gap. And the other times I have also seen where the work that I was doing got noticed because I was doing the right work. So I didn't have to say a single thing. So I,
So
I think it can kind of work in both ways, and thankfully I have seen both. So I've just put up a certain structure that can help me avoid the worst. Yeah.
I think that's great. Like focusing on not just the role that you're in, but making sure that the work, the projects, the tasks that you're taking on are well aligned with what you want and where you know you shine. So there's no question when that comes up later, instead of just taking what falls off the rack or what they give you that nobody else wanted. I love that. And Jazz, just to recap the question, whether in review, a conversation, or negotiation, and what does that look like for you in practice? And what do you wish that you've done? Sorry, no, I mean that. I was asking more around what was your actual advice for navigating negotiation, and how has it worked for you personally? Sorry.
I'll keep my answer very brief, but I think for me, what helps the most when negotiating, honestly, the through line is confidence. Sometimes I do have to say no. And the willingness to be able to say no comes from that confidence, right? If I'm feeling insecure, I might feel like I have to say yes to this project. I have to say yes. I don't know when the next project will come along, or I don't know if there'll be another job offer. Oh, I have to lean into this yes, even though I know it's wrong for so many reasons. So yeah, going back, confidence. Confidence will give you that ability to be able to say no if you need to. Confidence will give you that ability to tell them in a professional way, hey, the offer, the salary that you propose is actually too low. It needs to be here. Saying that in a professional manner. Here's the salary range that I researched. The job offer should be here. Yeah.
Thanks. And I know we're getting close to time, but I still want to hear Neha's answer to this. And then also, if you could even touch on when you're thinking about negotiation during that interview process as well, what are some evaluation aspects that you think about when you're coming to the table for negotiation and, before you go that far?
Mhm. I completely resonated with Jazz and Khushboo. Uh, Look for your position that you're applying for and what is the pay scale range within your area. Number one. Number two, if someone's giving you way lower than that range, say clearly no to that, please. Because should never undervalue yourself. When you start undervaluing yourself, others are definitely going to do that to you. So clearly keep your boundaries clear. If someone gives me below than what is offered to other men or women at the same designation level, I am not going to take it. Plus, if you're staying in one place or like you're looking for promotion and that negotiation happening, if I'm on a designation X and I want to go to designation Y, what are the goals or what are their daily activities they do? I align my yearly goals based on those skill set and that will help me work through those gaps. When you start to show yourself already working as the next level designation person, there's no one who can stop you to get promoted to that because you're already delivering much more than what you are at. So these are some things that you should, make sure you follow along while negotiating, being at a same place in a same company for a longer time. And if you're applying for new, do not settle for less. Please, please, no.
Absolutely. And I know we're getting close on time, but I kind of want to see if I can mix a question and then do one more round between the three of you. I know that someone in this room is going to close their laptop to open their laptop tonight, open a job board. They're going to feel a familiar wave of that. I don't really know where to start. And with the tension that we're feeling between using AI tools to help you, but not wanting to lose your voice or misrepresent yourself, you know, with that in consideration, what's one thing that you advise her to do first? Let's start with Khushboo.
I think that users use your AI tools for like clarity, structure, and iteration speed so that you can possibly achieve more in lesser time. So it can help you with like your rough ideas, identifying gaps that we have discussed already a couple of times in this session, that hey, this is the role that I want to target, but this is where I at. What all should I be, putting on my path, on my learning path to get there. So think of AI, like they had said in the very beginning, as your mini assistant, like as your co-pilot, helping you, get into the steering you into the right direction. And then, yes, of course, use it for drafting your resume bullets that you have already thought through, that this is what should go, and now I just need like a proper polish to the content that I'm putting. So yes, I think the way I would look at it is that if AI has helped me draft anything, it could be like your LinkedIn headline, or it could be your resume bullet points. But I should still be able to stand behind every word that I am putting out there about myself or about my work. Yeah.
And Neha, I'd like you to jump in here too, because I know you're an AI ethics advocate. So thinking about where you draw the line when you're leveraging these tools for the same question.
So I want to keep it very simple, keep it truthful. No fake metrics, no fake roles or skill set just because the JD is asking you to do that. No. Keep truthful and use AI very responsibly. In the sense, just help create a good structure, good, good words that you want to take, relevant keywords that your JD is asking for. Then do a little personalization, because AI will never personalize your own experience, because until you tell them that, hey, I had an internship here, will that add something to this job? Then AI can, amplify your real experience, but it never invents it. So you have to feed it to AI, take leverage of AI in order to draft it something in a very leadership warm tone. Use AI very ethically here, but be truthful. Every word that goes into your resume, you should be accountable to that. Everything you submit, when you click that submit, after that, everything on resume is your responsibility. So make sure, do not blindly trust AI. You check it, what it is saying, is it true, or is it just, faking it?
And for the last one with Jazz, thanks, Neha. I know that you more focus on LinkedIn. So I'm thinking, just to get a little bit different from each and every one of you, when you're leveraging AI tools to help you, where would you have her start when it comes to her LinkedIn, other than her headline?
Can you say the question one more time?
The question is more around, when you're using AI tools to help you without losing your voice or misrepresenting yourself, how do you talk to that with your experience? And I was pivoting you more towards like LinkedIn. When we have the rest of our creators who join today and they close their laptops tonight and they're looking at a job board, from the perspective of leveraging AI without losing our voice, where would you have her start? What's the first thing she can do with her LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I think if you need a really quick thing to touch, again, that headline, there used to be a phrase in web design that was referring to above the fold. So that's essentially everything that you see before you scroll down. So that would be like your headline banner, your headline photo, your headline photo. You know what I'm saying? Profile photo, your headline, all those quick details. Those are the things that you want to like quickly touch on. So headline would be that first thing.
And what are your thoughts on leveraging AI for like outreach or, reaching out to recruiters on LinkedIn?
Ooh, okay. So Neha already touched on this, but AI is great for getting you started for drafting, say, like an outreach message. Literally everyone that's here today, you can reach out to any of us on LinkedIn, wherever. But when you're drafting that outreach message, maybe you might start off by saying like, hey, I met you from CreateHER from the workshop session. And the message that AI is first going to draft is going to sound very robotic. I'm sure it's going to sound lovely and natural, but also robotic. And so you want to add in your voice in there. Maybe you add in a key point of like, this was a takeaway that I personally learned from you. You need to add in yourself. You need to add in your personality. And again, AI does not have your personality. So you really need to have your voice, your personality. Like you need to know yourself in there. I hope that's clear when I said it clearly or quickly.
It is. It 100% is. And for anyone, just to wrap that up, I would also hear that as everyone brought up a point in how they're leveraging AI and how they see the value is in using it, but they're really just giving you ways to have a starting point. And they're all narrowing down on the fact that it still has to be authentic to you. So don't just take what you're given as is, but really make sure that it's a representation that you're comfortable with and you feel as though it's authentic to yourself. So thank you all for that. I know we went a little bit over. Also, Darlise, she added in the comments, I don't want to miss this. She said she also wouldn't recommend using AI to search for recruiters given ethics and privacy. And lots of people put anti-AI messaging in their headlines. So looking out for anyone who's signaling to you, if you're reaching out to them, try not to use AI. If you're paying attention to how they're signaling you guys, you should check out for that too, because I have seen that with a lot of people. If anyone has enjoyed this session today, I really hope that you can let us know with the feedback survey that we have in our chat. I would love to go ahead and start wrapping up this session. Thank you guys for your hearts, your claps, your snaps. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to our amazing panelists, Jasmine, Khushboo, Neha. All of the value that you share with our creators has been immensely appreciated. And I know how much all of our time is worth. So I want to stay on schedule, but for anyone who was not able to stay the whole session, we will be sending out the recording to everyone who registered. And if you like this, please do the survey. Please let us know, because we want to do more things like this and other things that you have a desire for. We want to create content and, workshops and panels around the things that you're needing and looking for. So thank you all so much for joining. And I hope you have a great rest of your Friday, June.
Thanks.